Hey software, welcome to the video on your second color mode. I'm so excited to introduce this one to you because I think it's going to be a big benefit to your life and a big value add in how we work with color. So please make sure that you guys have opened up that starter code that was linked in your document. Make sure you go to File, Duplicate, make your copy, hit Save so it lives in your account, and then get ready. The two images I'm about to go over with you are also in that Google Doc, so if you'd like to review them there, you can, but these are just the best way to explain HSB. So as we dive in, the first thing you need to know is that whether you use RGB or HSB or HTML color names or hexadecimal colors, which some of you might be very familiar with from last year, you are making the same colors. There is no such thing as a color that only exists in RGB or only exists in HSB. They are all the same color, it's just different ways to represent them. In RGB, you're telling the computer how to mix that red, green, and blue, and in HSB, the computer is making it a little easier on you, where it's telling you to first pick the hue, and we can see in this diagram, the hue is like a color wheel. It's like what type of color you're picking, whether it's a blue or a purple or a red or a yellow, that's all your hue. After you pick the hue, you pick the saturation, which is sometimes referred to as chroma. And saturation is really like how washed out versus how vivid is something. So the best way that I can explain this is like if you guys have ever seen construction paper in school, that's been hung up all year and maybe it had something over it and then you take that paper down, you're going to see the part that was exposed to light has really faded and the part that had something over it is still really, really vivid and bright. That really vivid and bright stuff would have a high saturation and the stuff that's faded has a lower saturation. There is less color in that color. The value then just refers to how much white or black is in the color. Something with a high value has a lot of white in it, something with a low value has a lot of black in it and becomes like a very dark color. So this is our HSB for brightness or value. You will sometimes in color pickers see it said as HSV. That's totally fine. They're really interchangeable. P5 just uses the B. And the reason why this is so much easier is when you're picking the hue, oops, my tab fell asleep. Your hue goes from 0 to 360. And you can use this to guess pretty readily what type of color you're going to have. If you have a hue that's around 300, you're going to get like a magenta color. And then your saturation and your brightness, which instead of 0 to 255 goes 0 to 100, then you could get shades that are like more neon and vivid or less neon and vivid. You could make them more light by adjusting the brightness or make it darker by adjusting the brightness down. And we're going to take a look at that together in your starter code. So everyone right now is making their way to this starter code. Sorry guys, I have lots of tabs open. In this starter code, when you hit play, it's going to look very similar to where we were in life for the RGB colors when we started. You can see that I already have some rectangles coded out for you, and we're going to practice giving all of these rectangles a stroke color and a fill color. And because we want to work in HSB, the first thing we need to do is tell the computer, I'm planning to work in HSB. So our very, very first step in this code that you have duplicated and saved is to put our cursor at the end of line 2, hit enter, and write in color mode with a capital M on mode, and then in our parentheses, HSB, all in capital letters. This tells the computer that any colors it sees in a fill, in a stroke, being held in a variable, all of those colors should be read as hue, saturation, brightness, not an amount of red, green, and blue. Putting this color mode HSB in setup will change it for our entire program, but just like we've seen with fill, stroke, and stroke weight, we can also change shape by just putting it before the shape we intend to change or before the fill or stroke we intend to change. So if I just hit play now, nothing is really going to adjust in my program, but you're going to see that we're able to get much different results as we start adding fills to these shapes. So I'm going to add a fill to my first rectangle, and I'm going to head back to my value picker. If I wanted this to be, let's make it an orange. I see that orange is right around the number 30, and you are not tied to just using 0, 30, 60, 90. You can use anything in between. So if I picked like 15, it would be a color like this. If I picked 20, it would probably be somewhere in here. So I'm going to try like 23, I think. I think that'll be a nice color for my hue. So I'm going to pick 23 for my hue. And then I'm just going to show you what this looks like when I have a full saturation and a full brightness. So saturation and brightness, the second two numbers, are 0 to 100. So putting them both at 100 is going to like max them out. And now if I hit play, I'm going to see I get this really bright orange on everything. Now watch what happens as I start messing with just the saturation, which again controls how much orange is in that color. I'm going to bring it down to, let's do 70 first. I'm going to bring it down to 70, and we can see it's getting paler. I can bring it down to 50, and it's becoming like more of a pastel. And I can bring it all the way down to 25, and it's almost white. So I'm going to bring that back up to 100, and then I'm going to mess with my brightness. So my brightness right now is at 100. When I bring it down to 70, the shade is starting to turn into like a dark brown. When I bring it down to 50, it's even more of a brown color with kind of like an orange like undertone. And when I bring it down to 25, it's a very, very like dark, rich, like chocolatey brown that's getting really close to that black color on the edge of my shapes. I can also kind of mess with these things in tandem. So I'm going to bring my brightness to 70, so I have this color. And then I'm going to bring the saturation down to 80. And you can see that it's starting to fade that dark color I had. So with full saturation and a brightness of 70, I had like this very vivid but starting to get darker orange, which PS, this is like one of my favorite colors to wear. If I start taking this down to like 80, you'll see that that shade starts getting a little bit less intense. It starts being like more of a tan and less of like an intense orange. If I bring it down to 50, you're going to see that like it's almost like a gray brown color. So messing with these numbers sometimes just makes a little bit more sense to us. I'm going to go ahead and bring all these numbers back up, and I'm going to go ahead and add a stroke the same way. My stroke, I'm going to choose the color of 30, and just to make things interesting, I'm going to give it like kind of a muted and lighter stroke on the outside so I get like this funky 70s color. What you guys are going to be doing for the rest of this is you're going to use this color wheel, which is in your Google Doc, to help you. And you guys are going to try and give colors to each of these rectangles. Try giving them a different stroke and fill color. And if you're feeling crazy, you can try and make this into a rainbow. I'm excited to see what you guys make. Good luck with HSB. I hope that this is useful to you. And remember, you can always use HSB with color pickers as well. You just need to make sure it's choosing from HSB and not RGB values. Thanks, guys.